healthy interiors are a hot-button topic in sustainable design. The fact is, some interiors do make us unwell. You know the symptoms I'm talking about: headaches, allergies, coughs. There's even a label attached to them: sick building syndrome. The good news is that to be certified green, a building must eliminate or at least mitigate the conditions that make us sick. Very often, this is a matter of avoidance, what not to do, what to minimize to reduce health risks. But of late, we are also talking about affordance, measures designed and implemented to make us feel better physically and psychologically. The question is, how do we go from health concerns to wider pursuit of occupant well-being? How must we shape decisions at the drawing board? This video is sponsored by the Holcim Foundation for Sustainable Construction. More on them later. Let's start with health. Every day, designers make choices that directly affect the health of a building's occupants. For instance, does a product to be used in a project contain toxins? Will a finish, say a paint, contaminate indoor air quality? How much fresh air does an air conditioning system supply? How much of what we breathe is recirculated? Typically, these concerns are addressed by an abundance of codes and regulations which take their cue from science. For a designer, it is a case of compliance. We must comply with requirements in several categories such as air quality, thermal comfort, acoustic performance, and so on. All guidelines point to an achievable sweet spot: not too hot, not too cold, not too bright, not too dark, and so on and so forth. Lately, this conversation has zoomed in on assets known to make us feel better. For instance, having views of the outdoors, a profuse amount of daylight, the proximity to nature. Science also tells us that these attributes affect us positively. So the factors that influence well-being cannot be deferred to a later stage in the design process when we get down to choosing what to specify or what to buy. They must be tackled upfront. It is as much about the way a building's architecture and spaces are organized early on as it is about the finishes or fittings that we select later. The quest for a healthy interior starts with assessing the building as a whole. What's interesting here, and what I want to show you in the 5 projects to come, is that decisions at the building scale offer win-win outcomes as healthy buildings consume less energy and emit less carbon. First up, Singapore. The SDE4 building at the National University of Singapore, opened in 2019, is a 6-story net zero energy building with research labs and design studios covering some 8,500 square meters of total floor area. To meet its net zero energy target, the project team would have had to slash consumption by 50% compared with a super low energy building, a very ambitious challenge in tropical climates like Singapore, where air conditioning can account for as much as 50% of a building's total energy demand. For their project to succeed, they had to rethink how it would be cooled, which inevitably led to questions of how occupant comfort could be maximized. Is an air-conditioned, airtight box necessarily the best way to deliver that comfort? Well, no. SDE4 opted for operable facades which can be opened when outdoor conditions are amenable. The cooling system operates during the day at set points of around 29 degrees centigrade, about 5 to 6 degrees higher than other buildings on the university campus. Now, such elevated temperatures are offset by the use of ceiling fans to increase air movement. Combining both air temperature and air movement, the perceived temperature within the premise is several degrees lower. Now, this is what occupants actually feel. Internal comfort is also boosted by offering ample views to the outdoors, daylight access with glare control, and informal social spaces. What this design demonstrates brilliantly is that higher temperature set points eliminate the need for a return air system. Cooling is carried off with 100% fresh air supply, which is more good news. If the planning of SDE4 hinged from the start on the building's total energy use, which led to reassessing comfort, other projects begin more overtly with the human experience. Next on the list is one of them. Factory in the Forest is an evocatively named building in an industrial estate opened in 2017 in Penang, Malaysia, which ironically is not buried in the woods. Instead, what makes this 3-story building forest-like is the laying out of its 15,000 square meters of floor area, all wrapped in vegetation, in pockets of green spaces with access to fresh breezes and a deluge of flora and fauna. The appeal is obvious both inside and out. On the factory floor, full-height windows and clear-story glazing flood the space with natural light, reducing the need for artificial lighting. And on the top floor, office workers have access to roof gardens that are designed for them to hold meetings or enjoy coffee breaks. Like SDE4 in Singapore, there is much reliance here on passive strategies, daylighting, ventilation, shade, which reduce dependency on energy-intensive systems such as air conditioning and electrical lighting. This building's total energy use is roughly 45% less than the old building it replaced. Post-occupancy surveys reveal high levels of satisfaction. 90% of the staff working on-site say they prefer the new factory design. And for many, the elements and attributes of its architecture are what they praise the most. Another building that placed occupant health and well-being at the top of its brief is the Clif Bar Baking Company, 28,000 square meter building in Twin Falls, Idaho, USA. Unlike the previous two buildings, which are in tropical settings, this one has to contend with semi-arid climate conditions. Now here, the project team borrowed their framework from biophilic design research to imbue, deep in the heart of this project, the experience of nature. For starters, they made room for biomorphic art and used native stones as a finish for the interiors. Natural light is everywhere. With over 200 windows, vaulted skylights, and light-directing tubes, the facility is flooded with daylight. Now, this is a clear boon for the eyes, with one major added bonus. It also cuts down energy use. The building uses 21% less energy and 37% less water than conventional bakeries. Now, the water outcome is especially noteworthy because outdoor areas are landscaped as a haven for drought-tolerant native plants, with more than 570 trees and 5,700 shrubs and grasses that include restored pollinator habitats. This means that employees throughout the day, inside or outside, have no shortage of opportunities to connect with nature. We will look in a moment at a few more projects around the world that deliver healthy interiors for other building typologies. But first, let me quickly tell you about the world's most significant competition for sustainable design, with a total prize pool of $1 million, the Holcim Foundation Awards. Francis Carey, the acclaimed architect, won the Global Gold Award in 2012. Prior to winning, few had heard of him, and since, his profile has skyrocketed. At Ecogradia, we celebrate award winners like Carey. This year, we're spotlighting the 2023 winners in an exclusive webinar series. And who knows, next year you might well be a part of this inspiring group of changemakers. The portal for online submissions for the next cycle of the Holcim Foundation Awards is now open, and it will stay open until February 2025. It's free. Find out more in our show notes or at awards.holcimfoundation.org. Industrial buildings like Factory in the Forest in Malaysia, Clif Bar Baking Company in the US are challenging norms for the design of manufacturing spaces. The office fit-out, on the other hand, may not be as complex, yet it is by far the most prevalent. The Deloitte Sydney is an exemplary fit-out located in the Key Quarter Tower in Sydney, Australia. It occupies over 27,000 square meters of premium-grade office space stacked on 14 floors. The project's green credentials speak for themselves. Green Star Interiors, Neighbours, Energy Tenancy, and WELL Platinum rating. WELL is a performance certification focused exclusively on human health and well-being, with an expanded list of actionable measures that target both avoidance and affordance in categories as wide-ranging as air and water quality, light, comfort, nourishment, movement, and mind. The Deloitte Sydney deploys a couple of key strategies to meet its objectives. The first is the breakdown of spatial scale and hierarchy. Its 14 floors are subdivided into 4 vertical villages along an internal atrium and a flight of interconnecting stairs, which allow employees to move up and down easily and engage with each other. The second is the indoor environmental quality of the premises. The 3 lower villages mimic the natural surroundings of a number of popular Sydney haunts, like the Botanic Gardens and Bondi Beach suburb. Every floor is bathing in natural light with large windows that grant views of the city skyline. Eco-friendly materials are used extensively throughout, and plants are strategically deployed indoors to enhance air quality. The fit-out has received much positive feedback from Deloitte staff and has become an exemplar of a corporate approach to workplace culture. How thoughtful interiors, when paired with good architecture, can create uplifting experience and improve productivity. As we've seen, a common goal of healthy interiors is the betterment of human well-being, and there is no more critical setting for this particular pursuit than healthcare buildings. Maggie's is a charity that provides free, practical, and emotional support to cancer patients in locales as far-flung as Barcelona, Groningen, Hong Kong, Tokyo, and multiple cities within the UK. Here, the physical environment is an integral part of the Maggie's Help mandate, acting as a silent carer that de-stresses and soothes patients, visitors, and staff alike. For example, the centre in Leeds, England is a 2-storey building less than 500 square meters in size, located on the grounds of a hospital campus. Its architecture is conceived as 3 large planters, each one big enough to hold a counselling room. These planters frame the heart of the centre, known as the kitchen, to which are attached a few other social spaces, including a library and an exercise room. There is a space for every need, for a patient or visitor seeking advice or solace, or anyone looking for a brief retreat. The structure itself is made out of spruce timber. Natural materials and soft lighting create a cozy ambience inside. Porous lime plaster helps regulate the humidity levels to counter the effects of natural ventilation. From every indoor standpoint, there are views of the verdant landscape encircling the building. Even its roof makes a lush biophilic statement, taking after the English countryside. All in all, the premises are home to some 17,000 plants. 97% of patients have said that visiting a Maggie centre has helped them cope with stress. The design of the Maggie centres is instructive in many ways. Clearly, building shape, orientation, and materiality really do matter in the long run, as do proximity and views to nature, connectivity with the outdoors, daylight and fresh air, gradients between private and public areas, and the segregation of quiet and stimulating spaces. In fit-outs, such as the Deloitte Sydney, where the architecture is the context, interior design can build on the positives or compensate for any limitations. Now, this is commonly achieved through the choice of materials, finishes, thermal and visual and acoustic targets, and so on. These 5 projects clearly suggest that the goal of any healthy interior starts, more often than not, with the explicit vision of the organization that commissions and operates a building's premises. Occupant well-being must be part of its DNA, and no amount of indoor plants will make a significant difference. I'm curious to know if your work environment is a healthy space, if it contributes positively to your productivity and the comfort of your office colleagues, and why. And if not, let me know as well in the comments. If you'd like to learn more about the impact of architecture on well-being, be sure to check out my conversation with the Vietnamese architect Vo Trong Nia, an expert on the matter with an interest in mindfulness. And as always, thank you so much for watching.